What's good, everybody? It's Coach Phil, and welcome to another episode of Deep in the Game. We have officially hit episode 30. And when it comes to hitting anything with a zero at the end of it, man, I got to celebrate because I didn't even think we'd make it to 30 episodes, but we have. And sure enough, we got the beast from the East. We got Big Sexy himself. I don't know if he called himself that, but I'm going to call him Big Sexy. Pause. Jake Ceresna. Jake, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good, man. Excited to be on the show. Thank you for having me, man. I feel honored. I feel like this is like kind of part of my, I made it in the CFL moment being on the show. So it's cool.
Please, I ain't nobody special. I'm just a brother with a little show. That's about it. But again, man, thank you for hopping on, man. It's been an off season for you, man. And we're going to get into all the little things, man. But you are coming off a pretty good season, man. You had 48 defensive tackles, 12 sacks, man, in every single year from 2017 all the way to 2023, man. You've elevated your stats, man, but also the way you play is very distinctive. I said it in my reaction video. If y'all haven't seen it, go check it out on the channel. I compare you. You are the CFL's Brock Lesnar to me. It's just not. There's not many guys 6'5", 295 that can do the things you do. You can play one tech, three tech, but you can play outside, wide nine. You can do a lot of things, man. So I just want to know, man, what goes through your mind, man? Let's start there. What goes through your mind, and what you're a matchup nightmare, man. Take us through your process, man, before we get into your story.
Thanks, man. That was a good hype. Speech for me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, just my mind is I just want to be good at everything. Like I don't want no flaws in my game, and every year I kind of reevaluate myself and make a list. I literally make a list every offseason. Hey, what do I got to work on? I watch my own tape, go through every single thing, see just by watching my tape, like, hey, why did this move specifically work? Why was I successful at getting to the quarterback? And I've been able to learn a lot about myself. What works for me, I believe every player is different. Every player has a different way they approach the game and style to them. So what works for one guy isn't necessarily going to work for me, but I can still learn off him and learn things that he's done and kind of add it to my game, or at least try it out and see if it works. And that's kind of been a lot of my approach. Also, like from a early age, I've kind of always had the strength, but the speed is something that in the past 5 or 6 years that I've just really trained hard and really tried to emphasize in my training is just getting faster. You know, because big guys that move are hard to find. So I've really just, if I could be big and strong, then that's half the battle, or most of the battle's already won right there. And then on top of that, every year I just want to kind of get better. Every year I just want to outdo what I did last year. I'm kind of not satisfied in what I did last year. I want to be better and just continue to improve in any way I can. That's just kind of how I approach the game.
I like that, man. I like that. See, that's the thing. Most guys like your size, man, they are bull rush machines. They want the one-on-one, but then when they get doubled, man, they're not as a force. But with you add have the combat, you have the head in combat. You put yourself, you can play the outside, you can play in between the tackle and the guard. You can do different things. You're not just one-dimensional, and I like seeing that, man. The speed is crazy. I'll give you that. What do you do as far as gaining the speed, or work on your speed, or just adding to it? What are some stuff that if you could pass it on to young guys coming up, what would you say they could do?
Yeah, I'd just say consistently working at it. I mean, to get faster, you got to run fast. So you got to, in your speed training, you can't be running at 80% or 90%. I think you see a lot of guys doing that where they show up and are you really running fast? You know, every Saturday morning in the off season, I run with high school kids, but it just makes me run fast, just running against these kids as fast as I can, because I don't want them to beat me in a race. But also, I do a lot of sled sprints as well during the off season, and just weighted box jumps. I think are also just huge for me, and have helped me a lot in getting faster and getting my body right.
Jeez, you jumping box jumps, man. That's. I don't want to see that. I know you in the weight room, you're hitting the weights, but the fact that you run with young guys, man, you know, obviously that's competitive. You don't want them to beat you, but man, you staying young, man. You're only 29, which is crazy. I didn't know you was 29, man. We both 94. Take us through, man. You were born and raised in New Fairfield, Connecticut. Not a lot of guys play football. You know, we don't really hear a lot of guys coming out of Connecticut. Well, I guess there was one guy, but we ain't gonna talk about that guy, man. He, you know who I'm talking about. But take us through, man. Tell us your story, man. Tell us about Jacob Ceresna.
Yeah, grew up in Connecticut, small town. Humble parents. Like we were middle class, so we were well off, which was good. But yeah, just fell in love with sports from a young age. I think I was 5. My dad bought me a baseball glove, and from there it was just a wrap. Like I was just outside playing sports from there on out. It didn't matter what sport. I just loved being outside and playing something. So grew up playing baseball, basketball, football. I wrestled, and just like any sport, I loved playing and participating in. And as I got older, it just kind of became clear that football was kind of my sport. I was significantly better at football than anything else, especially when I got to high school. So started to focus in on that in my later high school years, and then I grew up in a small town, so I didn't really get a lot of scholarship opportunities to big Division I schools. There wasn't many kids before me that played anywhere big time, so it's very hard for big D1 schools to kind of offer a small school guy like that when there's no record of other players coming out of there. So I went to Southern Connecticut, which is a Division II school, for my first year. Kind of wanted to switch majors, and then I ended up at Cortland for my last 3 seasons, which was a Division III school. Played there, and kind of what I told myself as I was playing college sports is, because I always kept this thing in the back of the back of my mind where I just really wanted a shot at playing professional football one day. Was that if you're good enough, they're gonna find you no matter what level you play at, Division I, Division II, Division III. If you're a dog, like, they're gonna come find you. And I kept that in the back of my head. And my last 2 years at Cortland really went well for me, and I signed with an agent, played in a bowl game, got to do a combine and a pro day, and got some opportunities, and took off from there. And that's kind of just my story growing up.
I like that, man. So you said you went to you went 1 year, then you changed majors, and then you went to Cortland. What was it like playing at Cortland, being at a D3 school? We hear so many differing things about, like, you go guys that play D1, D1 2A, all that stuff. What was it like playing at Cortland? What was the environment like? And give us a visual of just like different practices, or just how things were.
Yeah. Well, I started at Southern Connecticut as a freshman. And so when I transferred to Cortland, I was kind of like, I wasn't really a weight room guy yet. And I was pretty cocky. I was like, oh, I'm just going to tear it up here. And my first year, I was on the bench. I didn't play. And the environment there was great. It was a lot of guys that just love the weight room there and just love the sport. Like, if you're a Division III guy, you're not playing to play professional ball one day. There's no one really in my school that played pro ball except for me and 1 or 2 other guys in this whole history. So it's kind of tiny weight rooms, like not the most glamorous locker rooms you've seen, like kind of broom closets for a whole football team to change in before a game or like a road game on the other side of the campus, and we got a bus back to the stadium. But it was a ton of fun. We had a lot of fun up there, and just we bonded well as a team, and just a really small town school. So we just had fun partying, and it was just all guys on campus. And I want to trade it for anything, man. Those guys kind of are my brothers, and to this day, I still go to the weddings. We still talk all the time, and it's kind of like playing at that level just made me more hungry and made me more wanting to play pro ball one day.
I like that, man. I like that. You hear, like I said, you hear so much about the D3, but when I've had guys that went to smaller schools, or I've talked to them, or just having conversations with guys even off camera, like, they talk about just it's fun. It's more of a close-knit group. Whereas you go to like the big D1 schools, half the time, unless you a 5-star, you a star, over time, the head coach don't really know your name. Your position coach knows you more than your actual head coach. So to hear you say, man, you have those relationships with those guys, man, that brotherhood, that bond, that's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Like, wouldn't trade that for for the world. You know, I sometimes think, you know, what if I went Division 1? But like just the guys I met, I can't see my life being different. So I'm kind of grateful for it, and it just made me hungrier too. So want to change it for the world.
I like that. I like that. In college, was it college for you, or was it when the pros when you figured out? Because some guys they know they succeed and they're successful in like a 3-4 defense, a 4-3 defense, a five. You know, where did you ever find that out about yourself, or are you like, hey, I can play in any defense you put me in?
Something I kind of learned about myself, I think I learned this in college, was I just need like a year or two to figure it out. Like I played in a 4-3 my first year in college at Southern Connecticut. Transferred to Cortland, it was a 3-4. Sat my first year, like I said, and by my junior, like sat my whole sophomore year. Junior year rolls around, and I won Defensive Player of the Years for my team. So it's just about, I think, time for me in trying to like process and figure out like, okay, what do I need to work on? What am I bad at? What does this defense need out of me? And something that I always tell myself is I got to be adaptable. I got to adapt to the circumstance and change who I am as a player. Like I don't want to be known as, you know, a run stopper or a pass rush guy or this type of guy. I want to be able to change who I am and my identity and not just be like, oh, like hang my hat on one thing.
Okay, I like that, man. There's a lot of see, that's the thing, man. Like I see right here, the next step for you was you were undrafted, you went in 2016, you went to the Jets, and it was kind of a cup of coffee, man. But I had Lorenzo Malden on. Shout out to Zoe, man. He said that you sustained a lower body injury, and Zoe had this very similar issue. Were you around there at the time Lorenzo was there, or was it after?
No, Zoe was there. Yeah, I don't know if he remembered me because I was only there for a couple weeks, but yeah, I got signed. There's actually a crazy story behind that we could talk about, but
Go ahead.
yeah. So 2016, I came out, had a couple trials for some different teams, nothing stuck. Ottawa called me up like 2 days before camp, so I went to Ottawa's camp. I was having a great camp for about a week and a half in. Just a freak accident. I broke my hand. Like the way I fell down on a pile during practice broke my hand. So they were like contemplating keeping me or not, but they ultimately decided to just let me go. And they said, "Hey, when your hand heals up, give us a call and we'll sign you back like later in the year." They won the Grey Cup that year too, so I'm pissed because I never signed back. But it would have been nice.
Oh
But
yeah.
when my hand healed up, I started. It was right around training camp, and a bunch of NFL teams started calling me. So the Packers called me up. I went out to a workout for them, but they were like, "Hey, we don't need any D linemen right now, but what we need is an offensive lineman. Like we can't find any good ones right now, and we need one for camp." And so had a trial with him as an offensive lineman, and pretty much they're like, "Yeah, we like you a lot. You just never played the positions, but like you know, we'll take a bigger look at you at the end of the year, kind of maybe do a futures thing or something to, after the season and try to convert you to offensive lineman." So I was like, "All right, cool." So left that workout. I went back to Cortland, talked to the coaches, and I was like, "Hey, can I just hang around here and kind of be an assistant coach, help out, and just kind of learn offensive line, be an assistant offensive line coach?" And they're like, "Yeah, for sure." So went back to Cortland, and I wasn't even there for, you know, a day or two. It was the first day that all the players came in for training camp, and this New Jersey number was calling me all day, like just ringing my phone, bothering me. And finally, we're at dinner. I'm sitting next to the offensive line coach. I'm like, man, this Jersey number just keeps calling me. I don't know who it is. Like it's just all day. And he's like, man, pick that up. That could be that could be one of the teams. That could be an NFL team. And like my heart dropped. I was like, oh my, like how did I not think of that? I picked it up. It's the New York Jets.
Oh my.
They're calling me all day and they're like, hey, we need one of our defensive linemen went down. We need a defensive lineman tomorrow. Like, can you come to the facility? And I was like, yeah, sure. I packed up all my things that night. It was 7, 8 o'clock at night when I left Cortland. It was like a 3, 4 hour drive to Florham Park where the Jets are. Got there like 11 o'clock, midnight, checked into the hotel, and then the trial was like 5, 6 a.m. the next day. It was me and one other guy, and they just brought us through like workouts for an hour. they were trying to like make sure we were in shape too. So they were kind of killing us. And then got done with the workout, and they brought me upstairs like, all right, we're going to sign you to a contract. Sign the contract, and they're like, okay, the team's running out to practice right now. Go run down to the equipment staff, go get your gear, and then run out to practice. So I met like all the teammates when I was out of practice, like Muhammad Wilkerson at the time, Sheldon Richardson, Leonard Williams, everybody. I didn't meet any of them until I was actually on the practice field in warm up line. So it was crazy for me. And then I was there for a couple of weeks, but I ended up getting injured again, bad high ankle sprain, and they let me go after that.
Damn, man. I mean, first of all, having to go out there and just see Sheldon Richardson, Leonard Williams, and all those guys, just like, hey, I'm Jake. Like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, and then I remember lining up and like Ryan Fitzpatrick being across the line of scrimmage and Logan Mankins and being like, holy shit, like, I'll be over my head here. Like I just came from like Division III school. Didn't really know what was going on, but you know, you learn a lot from that, and it's kind of good. You kind of get dropped in the ocean, and you got to figure out how to swim, and it's either sink or swim. So that's kind of how professional football works.
We all got to go through it at some point in time. You can be a big fish in small water, but when you get into big water, you got to step up, man, and eat. But it turned into something for you, man, because then you went after that. It says you went to Ottawa, back to Ottawa. Well, went to Ottawa, I guess, and had recorded 2 sacks, 18 tackles, man, your rookie season. Then you were traded to, I'm just gonna say it, Edmonton Eskimos. Don't cancel me. For my OG Odell Willis. Shout out to Odell. Uh, you went to Edmonton. Had 2 stops at Edmonton. What was the experience like for you in Edmonton the first go around? And then obviously we will get to, when you had your success, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I remember the day I got traded to Edmonton. I had like a little injury that was healing in the off season, and the GM from Ottawa at the time gave me a call. I thought he was checking up on me just to see how I was doing, and he's like, "Yeah, we just traded you to Edmonton. Got any questions? Just ask their GM." And I was like, "Okay." But at first they were like, all Edmonton fans were kind of pissed that Odell got traded away, and he was a great player for them. So completely understand that he mayor of the Commonwealth, and just the Grey Cup did a lot of great things for them. I mean, hats off. He's a good guy too.
Oh yeah, he's amazing,
Got to
dude.
talk to
Amazing
him
dude.
and meet him a bunch since then, and
Yeah.
nothing but respect for the guy. But it was great. Like I got to Edmonton, and my first year in Ottawa, I was still learning, trying to figure out the game, trying to figure out how to be a pro. Kind of a big learning process for me. Um, Seeing how professional football works throughout the season, and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And then when I got and I was ready to be a Red Black for life, until I got traded and I got to Edmonton, and that first season was really great for me. Mondo Sebo was there, and Mike Moore, who I knew from Ottawa because he played there as well, was there. And Mondo was just a great inspiration for me and just a great veteran to look up to and see, the right way to do things, and how to be a pro and be great in the CFL. So I had a great year there. Ended up, loving the city, loving everything about the team and what it stood for, and had a good year, and turned that into another shot, going to the NFL with the Giants. So loved Edmonton, and then went back again for another 4 or 5 years. And that was my second home for a long time until this year when I got traded to Toronto. So it's going to be a change for me. It's going to be different, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a new opportunity, and you never know what the next door opens up.
Well, opportunity is going to always be there for you, man. And I like the positive attitude. Now, I do have a question. I was going to save her for when we do talk about the trade. Is that normal in the CFL that they don't really talk to the players like, hey, is it like did they talk to you about, hey, we're thinking about trading you, or do they get your opinion, or is it just, hey, we did it?
It's usually, hey, we did it. I think that's professional football across the board. I think in certain situations, um, they might talk to you before, but I think most of the time it's kind of more out of the blue because they don't want to kind of, show their hand or get you thinking a certain way in case it doesn't go through, right? Like they don't want me thinking that I'm getting traded and I'm saying, F Edmonton, they don't believe in me, blah blah blah, and then the trade doesn't go through, and now I'm unhappy and I want to be out of here anyway. So um, usually most teams kind of keep quiet about it and don't say anything.
That's tough, man. I'd rather you tell me straight to my face. That's just me. I'd rather you tell me straight to my face. You're gonna do something, and I can prepare myself. Do you guys get like an opportunity to? Well, what is the feeling? If you could elaborate on it, what is the feeling like being traded? And what is the process for you once you get the word, hey, we're sending you to blase blah? What is the next step and what do you do and what goes through your mind and what's that feeling?
Yeah, getting traded is kind of like it's like bittersweet. Like it's kind of confusing a little bit because on one hand you're like, okay, this team wants me, and they traded away this great player to get me, so I feel great. But in another hand, it's like this team, the team I was just on and spent time with, they didn't want me anymore. So it's like a mixed feeling. Usually, from my experience in getting traded, I'm always shocked at first, and kind of takes me a day or two to process and kind of be like, okay, this happened. Like I'm not I'm not going back to Ottawa or I'm not going back to Edmonton anymore. I got a new home and a new place that I have to learn and new teammates. Um, but usually, like once I get to the new organization, from going from Ottawa to Edmonton, it's been great. And I know when I got to Edmonton, the whole organization kind of opened me with like welcome arms and treated me with nothing but respect and loved me. So I'm expect like should be the same thing in Toronto. I've had a lot of great conversations with Dinwiddie and all the guys over there, all the coaches and GMs. So um, they've been treating me great so far, and I'm like really looking forward to playing for Toronto. It's so like yeah, it's kind of like shocking at first, and then it settles in, and then you're like, all right, this will be good. Like it's change. It's gonna happen. You just gotta kind of get your mind wrapped around it and just like look at the positive and there's no sense in kind of like dwelling on it and being like, oh, like what if or screw this team. It's just like let's just move on and get back to work and doing what we love, right? So it's fine, it's cool.
You don't take it personal. I mean, you understand that it's business and you take it with a grain of salt and you just prepare for the next situation. That's a great mindset to have. And for young folks, understand, man, it's a business at the end of the day, and they doing what's best for them, and you gotta do what's best for you. So hey, listen to Jake. He's been through it a couple times.
Yeah. I definitely use it as fuel when I play that team, though, for sure. Like
Well,
anything I can get to just get me a little more fired up or a little more juiced up for a game, like a little more energy, I'm gonna like use that. It's kind of like the Michael Jordan thing where he's just like looking to feel like just a little disrespected. Kind of that. It's kind of that attitude
yeah.
to it. Like I'm just looking for something to like kind of piss me off and just make me play better.
I was just about to reference The Last Dance and say I took that personal, but you took it from me. So you went to the Giants, weren't really there that long, man. You made it to the final cuts, and it was what it was. You also had a stop in the XFL. You got drafted by the DC Defenders. I did like the DC Defenders, man. Their defense was nasty, even the year prior, man. That with Greg Williams, but you weren't there for that. But you ended up going back to Edmonton, man, and a lot transpired over the time period. So I guess, man, the floor is yours, man. Take us through from 2019, and then we'll talk about the trade that everybody was surprised about.
Yeah. Yeah. 2019 was with the Giants. It was had a good time there, but got released on last cuts. Sometimes it's just like with the NFL. Sometimes you could do as much as you want to do, but sometimes they got their guys or guys they invested money in, and there's a little bit of that and a little bit of you got to make sure you take advantage of every single opportunity you get. So, but anyway, got released. Some you win some, you lose some. Came back to Edmonton. Well, I got drafted by the XFL, but Edmonton just kind of offered me a better contract to go back to Edmonton. And after kind of like thinking about it and not knowing if the XFL was going to last or not and kind of make it, I was like, I think, it's better money going back to the CFL. So I'll just take this opportunity and sign back with Edmonton. And then I was really looking forward to playing 2020, and I was like, this is gonna be my year. I'm gonna have a breakout year to go dominate. You know, we flew to Edmonton. You know, they flew a couple of us guys out like March 12th or something, 2020. We flew to Edmonton and did this big photo shoot. It was where like COVID was being talked about like crazy, and you're kind of like sketchy on the plane a little bit. And then I got back home to Connecticut, and like the whole world shut down. And then just waiting out that season, it was kind of tough. And then eventually it got canceled, which sucked for me because 2019 I was with the Giants the whole year, but I didn't get to play in any regular season games, so I was just itching to play football. Then I had to sit out a whole nother off season. Didn't have a lot of money coming in, so I was bartending on the side, and I was just so ready to go back and play ball. And then boom, whole world gets shut down, and it's like a whole nother year I have to wait. So it kind of killed me. It made me go crazy, and I was just working out like to kind of deal with the
Okay, okay,
emotions.
okay, okay, okay. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm not walking my ass into a bar and seeing a big 6'5", 295 bartender talking about what you want, bruh. Like, what you drinking on? I can't. I just can't imagine. But at that time, it was COVID. It was you had to make money how you could get it how you
Yeah.
live. But I gotta ask, man? What's your best drink you can make, man?
Oof. Espresso martinis, I'd say that's my go-to that I make really good.
Are you are you fancy with the you going to
Oh yeah,
club?
I go all out. Like as fancy as you can get.
Oh my god!
You gotta get those tips. You know, that's how you make money. And just talking to people and knowing, you know, just making sure people are happy and satisfied when they walk out the door.
Hey,
Just
get
leave it
it,
at that. It
get
also
it.
helps with just like personal skills, just being able to talk to people and have conversations. Like bartending was great for that.
I'm surprised you didn't do security.
Yeah, I mean the bar loved me, right? Because they only got to pay me one paycheck, but they're getting a bartender and a bouncer, so they wanted me to put me on as many shifts as they could.
Well, I ain't mad at that. So you bounce back, and after that, after everything, the world shut down, man, and then they finally come back. Take us through. Go on from there.
Yeah, I mean the name change happened. We lost a lot of fans when that happened in Edmonton. A lot of people had so much, you know, connection to the Eskimo name and what we were. And, you know, I think the team was just in a tough position either way. Like they had sponsorships pulling out and they knew the fan base was gonna be upset if they changed the name. But I thought they did a good job with the Elks logo and in the name. I really liked the logo and the name when I was there and still do like being in Toronto. I think with what they with the situation they had, I think they made the best of it and made the best decision. It just the worst thing that happened was it was kind of I always call it the perfect storm, right? It was like COVID, they had to change the name, and then we weren't good for a long time right after. Now it's kind of like the perfect storm in Edmonton and why they're kind of going through their problems right now, I'd say. It's just like three of those coming at you. That could cripple a franchise and most franchises would fold from
Yeah.
that. And, uh, but they're still going. They're going to be fine. Like
Oh
once they
yeah.
turn around and start winning games, that's just such a good city that loves football and they'll support them once. You know, we felt it a little bit last year when we won. You know, we only won 4 games last year, but when we finally won that game at home, like you could just feel the fan and the energy like swirling around the team again. So just gonna be a matter of time when they start getting good. I'm kind of like Edmonton will be in a good spot, but playing there for 4 years, I loved it. Like I loved the city. I loved my teammates I had. A lot of great guys came and went through the organization. Just couldn't really get it right. I think 2021, coming off the COVID year, we had Scott Milanovic as our head coach during COVID, and he took a job for the NFL right before the season. I think that kind of is part of the reason why we started to go in this slump because I feel like 2021 year, man, we had some good players on that team. Like we had Trevor Harris at quarterback, James Wilder. We had a great secondary that year. We had some good We had a great. I mean, we had Matthew Betts and Sean and we had Matthew Betts and Sean Lemon, me and Mike Moore in training camp, and Kwaku Boateng, who Kwaku at the time was still a great player and wasn't hurt yet. Like we had that defensive line in training camp was great. Like I would like that's a dream team right there. But I think just some bad decisions made top down in the organization, and then started to slide that year. Shortened season, so we only played 14 games, so we lost a couple games at home that were big that we should have won, and then that kind of just propelled into each year and each year. And it's kind of tough being on a team when you walk into the stadium every day and you're like, all right, this is going to be the game. This is going to be the game. And it's like, no, no, no. It was one of the hardest things I think I ever had to do. And I'm just glad that we finally won a home game before I got traded or left the organization, because I was just ready to die and make that happen. I was ready to like give
Yeah.
whatever I had to give because I just couldn't take it anymore.
I, I, I see. When I came on the scene, I started learning more about the situation with the Elks, and which is funny how I actually met Odell. We went back and forth on Twitter about Coach Jones, and I had a lot to say as far as kind of how the situation. I didn't know about the Scott Milanovich situation. I didn't know that he took the job, but then he backed out and took a job in NFL. That's what you're saying?
Well, no, he was a coach for after 2019 they fired Jason Moss, which is also crazy. But
Yeah.
I don't want to get too into like politics of things, but yeah, they let Moss go. He was a great coach, love playing for him, great guy. And
Yeah.
then they hired Milanovic, which I think was a good hire. And he was a coach for all of COVID so he was there a whole season, didn't even coach a single day. And
Okay.
then he got an NFL opportunity with the Colts, I believe, as the quarterbacks coach. So he went down and took it. But it kind of was like right before the season started for us. So the GM kind of scrambled and got Jamie Elizondo at the time to be our head coach. And I don't know if Jamie was ready for the opportunity yet. And then we
I didn't know there
decided.
was somebody in between Milanovich and Coach Jones. Now, you hear so much about Chris Jones and how he kind of runs things, and players run. I've talked to some guys, man. Players will run through a wall for Coach Jones, but from the outside looking in, you hear so much about what is he doing? It's crazy, and how he's running the organization. At one point, he was wearing 3 hats. I think he was the GM, he was the head coach, and he was the DC. I think.
Yeah, for the past 2 years, yeah, he's been all three. So Jamie Elizondo was our head coach in 2021. We went 3-11 because we only played 14 games because of the shortened season, and then they hired Jones as a head coach, general manager, and he was also the DC for the past 2 seasons. Yeah.
What was it like for you playing for Coach Jones those couple years, man? And you can, the floor is yours, man. Say what you want to say, man. And it's no love lost. I've met Coach Jones, really good dude, and all that. But I know he gives me Belichick vibes, but also a little bit of not vibe. What's the coach? He's at Rutgers. I can't say his name off the top of my head. A little bit of that Greg Schiano, where it's like it's all business, like all football. It's his life. What was it like for you playing for Coach Jones and just your experience and learning from him?
Yeah, I mean his style is definitely different. What I'll say about Jones is like he's not afraid to do things out of the box. Like he's very like has his own way of doing things. Training camp is crazy. Like if you can make it through a Jones training camp, you can accomplish anything in life. Firmly believe that. Like you're gonna get like if the one thing I'll say is like if you're a rookie or like a first year player coming into the league, like going to Jones is probably a great decision. Like playing for him your first year out, because training camp you're gonna get more reps than you could ever imagine, and it's gonna give you the best opportunity to make the team. So with his training camp, like everyone's getting like we were getting like a game. We were playing like a game a day, man. He's like, yeah, that's right where I want everybody, like a game a day in reps, like 60 reps a day, like. it was like banging, like going at it, and like some of those training camp practices, like the only reason we kind of cut it down or tailor it down is because we were losing so many offensive linemen where we only had like 9 or 10 guys on O line left, so kind of had to cut it down a little bit. But he's every day is different with him. You don't know what to expect. Like you could come in one day and he's like, we're just gonna go practice right now instead of do meetings, or some days we're just gonna meet the whole day and just do a walkthrough. But his style is not for everybody, but like um he's a good coach, man. I didn't mind playing for him. I like the fact that he kind of saw like my athletic ability and let me play on the edge a lot, and kind of let me shine. And I really like playing in his defense where I felt like I was able to make a lot of plays, and I really kind of shine in that, and being able to, go play on the edge and then go play three technique, and then, kind of bounce around and move around. It really like let me be the player I wanted to be. So he's not for everybody. Like a lot of guys don't like him and have issues with him, but he is a very loyal guy in a sense that like if you're one of his guys that he really likes, he's going to do right by you and treat you right, and keep you around as long as he can.
When I see, I like you said that, man, because when I when I went to Edmonton, when they invited me up and all, me G Roy invited me up, I actually got to run into him twice. So I ran into him when I was walking around the stadium and all that. And then we talked for a couple minutes, but then I didn't realize the hotel I was staying at, he stays there.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I was going to go have dinner, and then he was coming in, and then we talked, and I got to pick his brain, and the man's brain, deep for just strictly defense. I'm a defensive guy. I asked him what, like little things, whatever. I can't remember specifically what I said, but he went into this whole philosophy and he broke it down to me. And we stood there for 25 minutes inside a Chateau. I'm probably gonna say it wrong. Chateau Lacombe.
Chateau Lacombe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chateau Lacombe. And I'm just like, I don't know shit about football. And I've been coaching for almost 10 years, and his brain works at a different. I was like, and I asked him, I said, well, what can I do to get to the next level? And he said, in that accent, he's like, come to training camp. Like, all right, coach, I see you there. But he does give, you love him or hate him, but you have to respect the man's cut a jib. He's like that. And if you can pick his brain, man, and you one of his guys, man, he is loyal. But at the same time, during the season, we're gonna shift to another thing, man. And I don't really like. I saw some stupid stuff on Twitter, man. People were talking, some people saying about the hit on Tyree Adams, man. Do you take? Do you like? Do you like ignore a lot of that stupid shit that's said from people online, or do you take that personal, or what? What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, if you go back and watch that play, I'm getting pushed in the back as I'm going down, and like the offensive lineman lands on top of me as I'm hitting the guy. I'm not trying to aim low, or kind of give a nasty hit. It was just one of those plays where I'm getting around the offensive lineman. I know the offensive lineman too, Ruby. He's played with him. He's actually a good guy, but he's pushing me in the back the whole way. Like I'm by Ruby. He's pushing me in the back, like two hands in the back. Like I don't know. And I'm running full speed. How are you supposed to stay up? Like, so I'm falling forward, and there's nowhere else for me to go. And I'm trying to land as high as I can to tackle him high, but kind of my foot slips out, and then I hit him low, and then he simultaneously got hit by another guy at the same time. So, if I just hit him alone, I don't think anything's happening, because I kind of like I didn't grab his feet or anything. I just kind of hit low and then rolled off, but he got hit simultaneously by another guy, and it was a freak accident. I feel bad, you never want to injure a player when you're playing ball. But yeah, like they kind of just spun it as, I think I got a penalty the game before, or like 2 games in a row I had a penalty. So they kind of were trying to spin it as like me being a player that gets a lot of penalties and is, not well behaved. And you just kind of got to ignore it, man. Like if you look at my track record, I've never hit guys, never been a dirty player. I don't talk like shit to anyone when I'm out in the field. I'm just kind of playing, and never been that guy that wants to like, hurt other players or do damage to other people like that. That's just never been my thing. So I
Yeah.
just kind of ignore it and move on. It kind of pisses you off a bit, but you just, you know, me giving attention to it isn't gonna change it. I just gotta, keep being the person that I know I am, and eventually people are just kind of forget about it.
I mean, people gonna say what they want to, man. I mean, the
Yeah.
people that understand, know you, that's all that matters. They know. I mean, I've seen you play, man, and I never would take you as a guy that do something like that, man. That's just, and just talking with you, I can tell. We've talked, off camera and all that, man. You're not that like that, man. And people are quick to put that label on people and say, oh, he's a dirty player, and all he does is, if I'm getting pushed in the back by a big 200, 300-pound offensive lineman with two hands, aren't you gonna fall? You know what I'm saying? So who cares? But
Rules around quarterbacks now too. Like every year it gets harder and harder, and they put in more rules to protect the guy. So like I get it from the standpoint of you want the quarterback healthy because you want to make money for the league, but it's also like football has changed so much for defensive guys and how you play. Even if you look at the NFL now, like the hip drop tackle that they're starting to ban, that seems crazy to me. Like how are you supposed to tackle anymore? Like you can't and you can't even land on a quarterback. You can't hip drop tackle anymore. Like you got to aim between the shoulder pads and knees. But if he drops his head or something, then you're gonna hit him in the head. So there's a lot of ways where you could go wrong, and I think if you play the game long enough, you're gonna get one of those penalties or something's gonna happen. And
yeah,
like I said, you just feel bad. Like you don't want the guy to get injured, and I feel bad that he got injured on that play. Didn't want that to happen. Don't wish that on nobody.
yeah. I mean, if a big 6'5", 295 dude that can do somersaults after he tackles me, I'm look, hey, I'm a fighter. I'm gonna do what I need to do, but mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. But and also when we mentioned, you talked about that defense with you, Lim, and all that, man. I think the 2023 Edmonton defense, as I was learning more about the guys, and even in the offseason before the trade happened, I was like, dang, you got AC, you got Jake, you got Niles, you got a disgusting secondary. And I like that the defenses are all kind of even. Like there's tiers to it, but y'all defense was sneaky good. Your secondary with Tony Jones, Marlon, Ches. I'm gonna have Ches on in a week or so. Shout out to Ches, man. Kai, all these different guys, man. And I was hoping, man, like I was gonna put it together, and I was hoping that this upcoming season, y'all gonna put that thing together, and it was just gonna be nasty. But we're gonna talk about it. The trade. Now they traded you for Curly Gittens Jr., a 7th-round pick. Uh, what the hell? What the hell happened, man? Take everybody through, man. I kind of know now. We talked about it before, but take
Yeah,
us through what happened, man.
yeah. I mean, they just Edmonton. They had some stuff going on and kind of asked me to kind of restructure my contract, and we talked about it back and forth a bit, but at the end of the day, I didn't kind of like what the restructuring was. In my opinion, it kind of just looked like a pay cut to me and not really, um, they weren't really working with me to make it work. I was willing to take like some of a pay cut, but not as much as they wanted. And I was coming off a great year too. So I was kind of like, didn't feel like I should be in a position to take that large of a pay cut either. And so I was like, you know what, I'm cool with just keeping the contract I have. Like I don't really want to change anything. I'll just stay with what I got, and then kind of got traded after that. So that's how the game works, though, man. Like you got to bet on yourself sometimes. Um, Shit's gonna happen at the end of the day. Some people are gonna believe in you. Some people are gonna, they got to make business decisions. If their salary cap is tight and they gotta, kind of move some guys around to open it up, and that's something that they got to do too. So it's a business at the end of the day, like you said, but like as a player, you got to also treat it like that. I don't get to play this game forever, and I want to, get paid what I'm worth. And if I'm putting up great numbers, I want to make sure that I'm getting paid what I should be for those numbers, because if those numbers ever go down, they're going to pay me for what my current numbers are, like, so you got to get your worth at the end of the day. And they made a decision, and Toronto picked me up. So it happens. I'm happy to be in Toronto now, and to go play for the Argos, and go chase a Grey Cup, man, and be on a really good team. So I'm excited for it.
You mentioned that, man, going to Toronto, man. Now they're coming off of that 16-2 season, losing in the East final to Montreal. And then the offseason has been free agency has been wild so far, man. But they made that move to get you, and now with you, Oakman, still got a strong secondary. Also, they got Winton there. If I could ask you, man, we talked a little bit about when you were in college, knowing whether you're a 4-3, 3-4 guy. Can you kind of give us a little understanding of like a CFL defense, like a Jones defense? Like what's it like? I've tried to study, I've tried to understand for the people at home, what is the difference as far as like we hear 4-3, 3-4, 4-2-5, different things, but you have that extra man out there. Does your job responsibility change on the front line, or is it little more things that you have to do and be aware of? Because I know you got the yard off of the ball and that. So take us through that real quick.
Yeah, I think like most CFL defenses are very similar. Like I think almost everyone plays a 4-3 base. Like they four defensive linemen. So when we say 4-3, it's four defensive linemen, three linebackers. The third linebacker in the CFL is kind of a hybrid guy. He's usually like can also cover pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
depending on like if it's the Sam or the Will. It all depends on the team. And yeah, I think as a defensive lineman, the biggest transition going from like American rules to Canadian rules, I would say, is the yard off the ball is the hardest thing when you first start off. A lot of guys, they're like, oh, it's a yard off the ball. It's not that big of it. It doesn't seem like a big deal, I'd say. And a lot of people like don't like they overestimate like always having to be that yard off the ball. And you see first year guys always have a tough time adjusting to it, making sure they're always a yard off the ball. And then your steps are different is what happens is you get off the ball and your first step, like when you're playing American football, is going to be into the guy. But now you're in Canada, you're off the ball. First step, you're not there yet. So like they could be zoned in one way and just you could be two gaps behind now if like you take the wrong step. So getting that yard off the ball and then it being a 3-down league, like there's only 3 downs is another big difference. So like you want to have a great first down and get them in second and long so you can pass rush and be great at pass rushing. In the CFL, you got to be able to pass rush. That's like the biggest key they look for in Canadian football defensive linemen. And they're always every team does a million one-on-ones just to see what defensive lineman can pass rush and get after the quarterback. So that's huge. And then like the receivers get a running start to the ball. So the ball's coming out quick. Like the ball comes out quick in the CFL. Like there's only 3 downs, and most like teams pass a lot more in the NFL. But like you never see as many guys in the CFL getting like 20, 25 sack or like 20 sacks every single year, kind of like in the NFL, because the ball's coming out quick. The receivers got a running start, full speed to the line of scrimmage. Quarterback's getting the ball out. Like the time is like boom, boom. So to be good at kind of pass rushing in the CFL, the main thing that has worked for me is just telling myself like I got to get there like right now. I don't have any time. Like I can't waste, let alone like 2 seconds or 1 second. I can't waste a half a second. Like I have to get there right now in the quickest, shortest amount of time as possible because that ball is coming out quick. So just being able to just figuring out your pass rush and whether that's like taking less steps, you just have to find a quicker way to get to the quarterback at the end of the day. And for me, it's just been like going in a straight line and just making all my moves, very concise. It may not look like I'm doing a lot of things out there sometimes, but I'm just very, 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 what's the word for it? It's like if like I'm not doing any wasted movement in
Right.
kind of pass rush. I just got to get there right now. It's kind of what I'm trying to say.
So for you, it's and even when you're playing like on the outside, like you're playing on the edge, you always when in the States, obviously it's 3 yards up, 3 yards in. You want to kind of, if it's contained, you're kind of boxing everybody in. But is there a difference, or is there just it's similar principles for you on the edge? Or if you're does it feel different when you crash, or is it different when you're containing? If because there you got like a for you now. I mean, obviously now you got Trey Ford, you see a Tyree Adams, you see a Zach Collaros, quarterback that can get outside the pocket and move the pocket with him and throw it on the run.
Yeah, oh, that's a great question. I think there's like definitely a big contain. It's similar in like the containing aspect. I would just say it's harder to like beat a guy with speed in the CFL sometimes because you're a yard off the ball. So the offensive lineman most times is going to be in a great position too. So like it's very easy to get washed up the field in the CFL or for you to not get to like your point of contact. So you just got to be kind of concise in the field's wider too. So you got to be able to run too.
Yeah.
there's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
things. I just keep bringing up like all these issues.
Now you're good, man. I mean, especially if you're a
Yeah,
linebacker, you got
yeah,
you got to be able to scrape very
yeah.
very good.
At the end of the day, like you just got to be able to you got to be able to run. Like contain the edge is huge. Like, but that's the same as American ball. Like you just got to keep make sure you keep the outside edge. And Canadian is just bigger because the field's bigger and you got a lot of mobile quarterbacks. So it's something you got to be more aware of. There's not a lot of pocket passers in the league, but it's the same as American. Just I'd say a lot of guys up here just can run. Like if you're a defensive lineman in the CFL, you got to be able to run sideline to sideline if you want to be able to make plays.
You guys do make up for I know there's not a lot of like big time run stoppers, but you guys make up for it, as you said, being pass rushers. You guys make up for the run stop, not having like a lot of great run stoppers, I guess, that I'm aware of now. You guys make up for it in pass deflections. I've seen so many doggone pass deflections in the CFL, more than I see in the NFL. You guys make up for that very, very well. So you get paid just being a pass deflector, I guess.
Yeah, and rushing the passer, like in after the quarterback, is huge in the CFL. Like I said, like if you can affect the quarterback, even if it's not a sack, even if it's like a pressure or quarterback hit, like teams love that, and that's kind of what they want to see in their defensive line. They want guys that could do that, but also be physical and stay stout in the run too. But what they're not looking for is like big run stoppers that can't move sideline to sideline because when you get to second and long, like those guys kind of become useless. And with the like I said, with the wide receivers getting a running start, it's like you got to get there right now. You need fast guys in there that can run and chase down these quarterbacks and get there quick.
I like that, man. So we're gonna wind it down, man. We're gonna do 5 questions, man. You ready?
Oh yeah. Let's
All
do it.
right. What does Jake Ceresna like to do in his spare time, man?
Oof, man, that's a good question. I probably like if I'm not training or working out, I just like I love naps. I'm a big nap guy. Take
Me too.
a lot of naps, or I'm a big movie guy too, man. Just sitting down and watch a good movie. I'll watch a movie at like 9 a.m. in the morning, and my fiance would be like, "You really watching like a 2 hour movie right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to." It's kind of
What's
what I like to do, just zen out and enjoy some good TV or a good movie.
what's your go-to movie?
Oof, there's so many good ones, man. It's hard. I like watching like Troy, like is a classic that I could just watch all the time. I just saw Dune 2 in theaters though, and that's a great movie. I highly recommend. If you haven't seen the first one, watch it. It's on Netflix.
I have to check it out. I have to check it out. Okay. All right. Jake's a movie guy. I like that. Favorite actor of all time or actress?
Ooh, tough question. I always had a crush on Jennifer Aniston growing up, so
She can't keep a man, though. You know what? That's neither here
no.
nor there. It ain't me.
That's true. That's true. And then actor, there's so many good ones, man. I don't know if I have a favorite. Uh, I like Brad Pitt's always good, and Troy and in Fury, he's always like a top tier actor. I like watching. That's really all that comes to my mind.
Next question. Now, kind of like rolls over, but obviously your name Jake, man. Do people give you the training day, Jake? Jake? do they give that to you, man?
Yeah, my you know who my defensive coordinator in college, Ola Adams. He's at Indiana now. he used to always yell at there in practice, man. He'd be like, Jake.
I need my money, Jake.
Yeah, hey, Denzel, another great actor.
Oh yeah. Oh
By
come
the
on.
way.
Yeah. You know.
I always get like Jake from State Farm's a big one
Oh.
too. Like, what are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis, red
Yeah,
shirt.
everyone gives me that and they think it's original. It's like, all right. heard it like 200 times, but
He's like, yeah, it's funny. It was funny. It was funny. It's, yeah, yeah. All right. What does what type of music does Jake Ceresna like?
I like all music, man. I just like good music. My go-to is like country. I also like rap. Big Drake fan and like Morgan Wallen a lot. So those are on my playlist. You know, but I'll even bump like like Miley Cyrus, Used to Be Young. That's kind of like on my workout playlist sometimes. I'm all over. I'm all over. I just like good music. I appreciate, all genres. I got a rock playlist that I bump when I'm in the gym too, like classic rock sometimes. Uh, Kind of anything, man, as long as it's got a good tune pop too. Like,
I'm with that, man. I mean, you do look like you say country. You do look like a young Toby Keith, but I let it slide, brother. I let it slide. Next question, man. Who is the toughest quarterback you've ever had to try and go after? Who was like you knew it was going to be a long day at the office, and you never could get him.
man, Zach Caleros has been tough for me to tackle. He just like the way their offense is set up and they have so much like misdirection and play action stuff. It's like he's never just sitting back there in a pocket where it's like, all right, I know he's just going to catch it and sit there and it's a pass. Like he's always been tough for me to tackle. I think I only have like one or two sacks on the guy. So say him. VA was tough for a while too because he scrambled around, but I got him a couple of times pretty good this year. Bo Levi always gets rid of the ball quick, but I've always had like pretty good success against him too. Um, I'd say those are the guys. Cody was tough. Like when he was in Sask, he used to run around a lot and be pretty good. Like he's still good, but I've kind of figured him out. Like, well, I've got some,
The
I won't
slot
say
is coming.
him out. I'm not gonna say figured him out, but I've gotten some good sacks against him. Like he's a great player though. Even with Oli, like ran around a lot, it was tough to sack sometimes. But I got a sack against him. I kind of like I want to make sure I get a sack against every quarterback in the league. So like it's kind of something I want to like pride myself in doing. But like some of these guys are, I'll tell you, man, it's taken me a couple of years to get some of these guys. I think I might have sacked Zach for the first time this season because he's like just so good at what he does. Misdirection. It's not even like he's fast. It's just the way the offense is set up and all the misdirection that goes on. And I've been in Edmonton and they've been in Winnipeg and they've been kicking our butt the past couple of years too. So I haven't got a lot of opportunities. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks, man.
Okay, I like that, man. Well, Zach. I've watched a lot of Zach, and I'm gonna react to his 2023 highlights, man. But I noticed something about Zach that he runs like the Dak Prescott thing that everybody.
Yeah. Like he's moving his shoulders when he runs.
Yeah, it's like Aaron Rodgers does the same thing, and I'm like, how do you tackle that? How do you get a sack on that? Especially when you see the play action's coming, and he goes to the right. He runs weird. You think, oh, he's going to turn back around. No, Zach is weird. Not like in a bad way, but his run style is quirky, but it's effective.
Yeah, some quarterbacks like you pull them up on tape, you're like, oh, they're not that fast, blah blah blah, and it's not till you play them where you're like, no, this guy's shifty. Like he don't look fast on tape, but like he's gonna shift around and he can make guys miss. And Zach's one of those guys. And also like Winnipeg's had a great offensive line.
Oh yeah,
they've had Hardrick and Stanley Bryant there forever. And so he's always had a great offensive line there too behind him. It's been tough. It's been tough to get after him.
Last question, brother, and we're gonna get up out of here, man. I'm gonna throw you a curveball. Who gonna be Edmonton's quarterback? MBT or Trey Ford? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I don't want to do that to you. I'd say, man, the last question for you, brother, is if you could pass a message on to the young kids today, man, that are coming up playing football, whether it's college, high school, anything, man, from the road that Jake Ceresna went on, man. what would you pass on to them, and what would you want them to hear right now?
Great question. I would just say, like, you could be whatever you want to be. Like, you just got to put your mind to it. Don't let people put you in a box and say you're like this type of player, this type of player. Be adaptable, be able to like change and just work your tail off and give it everything you got, and great things can happen. You never know like where the next door is going to open to or where the next opportunity is going to be, and to just go for it. Don't be afraid to like take a risk and look stupid. I've looked stupid plenty of times in my life, and just it's better to try and fail than to never try at all. Like, so just go for it. Let it rip. Don't hold back. Go try to be great. Don't settle for being average. That's what I'd say. And like,
That's a message right there.
Yeah. Looking at my life, like I remember when I came into the league, they're like, "Oh, you can't play for Coach Thorpe because you don't fit his defense." And then I played for him, and I had success. And I remember them being like, "Oh, you can't play for Jones. You're not a Jones guy. You don't fit in his defense." And I played and had success under his defense too. So it's like you can do whatever you want to do. Like, just don't listen to people. Be able to like adapt. Be coachable. Don't like get hung up on the small things, and just keep working hard every day. Don't think you have it all figured out either. Like, always listen and just be a good teammate to the guys around you as well.
Be a great teammate, man, and adapt and do what you can and do your job, man, and you're going to have success, man. So that y'all heard it from Jake, man. So Jake, I want to say thank you so much, man, for wanting to come on an episode of Deep in the Game, man. You're always welcome, brother. I wish you the best of luck this upcoming season, into your first season in Toronto, man. Go win that. There's a lot of guys that have come on here, man, and said, they want to win, most outstanding defensive player. They want to win MOP, man, but go get yours, man. Go get yours, brother.
That, Phil. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Thank you a lot.
Thank
you for having me on the show. Had a great time, man.
I'm glad you came on, man.
And I just want to say too, like, just thank you for all the content, man, that you share in the CFL. We need more guys like you, and I feel like this is just a great platform and all the content that you spread. And I love it, man. I just love everything that you represent and what you're doing for the league. It's great.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It means a whole lot, man. Just doing my thing, and we're going to keep it rolling, baby. So thank you again, Jake, man. And this has been another episode of Deep in the Game. We might be deep in this game, but you got the rules missing. Take care, y'all. See y'all next time.
I'm going to tell you the truth. The man's in the house.
So crazy.
The man's in the house. I'm going to tell you the truth. The man's in the house.
So crazy.
The man's in the house.